What is up, guys? It is your boy Winster, and I'm back at it again with another video. Here we got something special. We got a deck profile. One of my great friends, Esteban from Mexico, he's gonna be pulling up with a older format. I'll definitely let him get into it. We're gonna be discussing it, and hopefully you guys enjoy this type of content. Let me know what you guys think. But before we do get into it, I really appreciate it if you guys do subscribe and turn on the notification bell. If you guys want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh content like this, make sure you guys let me know in the comment section. Of course, turn on the notification bell. Check out all the other platforms: Discord, TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch. Everything's going to be down there. I'd really appreciate you guys check me out there. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really new to these older formats. I don't know much about it, so I'm going to let him do all the talking. How he won. So I'm really excited.
What's up? I'm just happy to be here, man.
Yeah, no, the pleasure is all mine, bro. Like I was saying earlier, Marvel players, we go back before even Yu-Gi-Oh. It's funny, guys. Like,
Way back.
yeah,
At least 10 years, at least.
like I remember, I heard like Yu-Gi-Oh players usually play Marvel, or maybe it's backwards. Marvel players usually play Yu-Gi-Oh through the grapevine, right? Like a lot of the time, Esteban was in SoCal, and with me being in Arizona. We played Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 throughout the years. We didn't play a tremendous amount versus each other, but we knew he existed. I knew he played Yu-Gi-Oh! And now my man is out here winning events at YCSs. I'm so excited that he won because it's Marvel, Latino America, and my man is playing an older format. You know, I couldn't be happier for one of my friends. Yeah, I won't take up too much time. We're going to go ahead and go over the deck profile. Let him explain everything.
Absolutely, yeah. So basically, this is the deck I won 3 Time Wizard pods at YCS Guadalajara with. It's an Edison format deck, and it's a Hero Frog deck. I think this deck is very, very flexible because it just has options for almost every scenario. And once it gets going, I don't think it really can be stopped. Like the matchups that beat this deck are usually matchups that either don't let you start or just kill you before you can start, right? Whether it's through like floodgates or just a lot of offense like Dragon Turbo. But in general, I just really love this deck. I think it has a lot of options, quality play, and it just makes me excited that I could win with some of my favorite decks and some personal spice because I know this is a popular deck, but I added in little things right there to make some matchups easier. So the first card I played is a Battle Fader. This card is great. It protects your life points, its defense, and it forces your opponent to commit. The best thing about Battle Fader is that a lot of people will see like an empty board and they'll like hard commit, like try to OTK you with their value turbo plays or like their dragon turbo plays or just even the mirror match. And then you just drop Battle Fader and suddenly you're throwing a monarch at them, you're miracle fusing their board away and there's not much stuff they can do. So Battle Fader is an insane defense card. It does have its weaknesses because you can Royal Oppression it, you can prevent it from being summoned with like Vanity's Fiends, Christias, etc. But I will go into the other card I play for defense to complement with that weakness. After that, I played 3 copies of Kaios the Shadow Monarch. I think this card should be played in every single Edison deck. You get to banish a card, you get to do burn damage, and it's also like a big monster for the format. So sometimes you can just get a lot of momentum. And the really great thing about the Frog and Monarch synergy is that you can recycle your Monarchs with Swap Frog. Like you can just bounce your Monarch as a cost and just keep monarching over and over again due to the Treeborn Frog. So it's great. Um, then I played 1 Dandelion along with Future Fusion. There's a little bit of spice I saw on YouTube from Fraser Smith, and it's a really cool tech. Basically, you play Future Fusion, you reveal Elemental Hero Gaia, and send 1 Dandelion and 1 Elemental Hero, and it'll put up the 2 Dandelion tokens because the Dandelion is sent to the grave. So now, what do you do with 2 tokens? You just go through your full substitute combo. You just tribute off the tokens and you go directly into the Dupe Frog lock, which is crazy. And speaking of the Dupe Frog, then I played 2 Dupe Frogs. This card just nets so much advantage. A lot of decks have to spend 3 or 4 cards to get through the lock. Some decks can't get through the lock at all. so it's just great. For the hero package, I played one elemental hero Ocean. He's another water that I can discard off Swap Frog. Can be search, helps me for the future fusion play, is an equal target, is a Rhoda target, so just generally good monster to have. And recycling your Stratos, if possible, is insane. Um, Stratos, of course, the best hero ever of all time, I'd say, at least in the main deck. Just searches for anything, thins your deck out. You can even pop cards if you already have heroes on field, which is a thing that comes up pretty often with this deck. Um, then the little guy, Evil Here Infernal Prodigy, is like a mini Cyber Dragon, just summons itself whenever you need it. And if you have one body and Substitute, you go straight into the Duplock, thin your deck out by 10 cards, and good luck dealing with that. And then obviously a searchable big body in Malicious Edge is great. It also does piercing damage. So it really comes up against like plant decks or cards that, decks that like to set a lot of cards. You can just bully them with the piercing damage, and there's not much they can do. Um, Another one of the insane cards in this format I play is Gores. Gores is a card that you can also never know when your opponent has, unless you're like really obvious about it. But especially in this deck that doesn't play a lot of back row, Gores is always a jump scare, so they either respected the entire match or they don't at all. And if it resolves, it's almost usually a victory. And even if not, it's just great defense. It can stop you from losing. I faced a Dragon Turbo player in the tournament, and he swung in the incorrect order against Gores and just couldn't get over it after. Then one card that I think is also vital in Frogs is Junk Synchron. It can revive a level 2 monster with it effect negated, but since Swap Frogs effect to bounce a card and then do a normal summon is a cost, you can just keep looping your Swap Frogs and build up defense that way. And it also goes into the most broken extra deck monsters really easily, like Bryonak, Goyo Guardian. It's just a really really strong card once you have set up your graveyard, and later in the game it just comes in clutch. I went for Bryonak in one of the pods that I won, and they couldn't do anything to stop it. And then I played the one of Ryza, the Star Monarch. Sometimes decks cannot deal with getting one card flipped back and then redrawing it, and then you use Phoenix Wing Windblast too to set them back another turn, and it's enough momentum to get going. um, then we're gonna go into the stars of the show, the frog package. Substitute is a super busted card. It literally does everything. It tributes opponents' monsters. If you use Soul Exchange on them, it tributes your own monsters. It's a starter because it gets your you tribute itself, you bring Swap Frog, and then you send Treeborn to the graveyard and bounce the Swap Frog, and you have another card in hand to discard if you need it. It sets up the dupe lock by sending all of the cards, and it's just crazy. And then 3 Swap Frog. That's another starter. I always like seeing it, especially because of all the Monarch plays and cool like Frog Circus things you can do with it. And then the Treeborn Frogs is just a recursion, a +1 every turn it comes back. People have to spend resources on them. Like one of the very big games I had in the finals obviously had a DD Crow in their hand, and I really needed my Miracle Fusion to resolve. But they spent their DD Crow on making sure Treeborn doesn't get back, and by the time that I drew the Miracle Fusion, they had no way of like dealing with Miracle Fusion, so Absolute Zero just mauled them, and it was all because Treeborn Frog is such a scary threat. Like just letting it go +1 with all the strong tribute monsters or the Junk Synchron is crazy. But the card that was the absolute MVP of the deck was this card, Unifrog. When this card swings directly and you control a frog, which it can just swing directly because of its own effect, but if you control a frog, you can destroy, non-target one spell or trap your opponent controls, and it's in the damage step. So a lot of cards cannot even activate. I got rid of like at least 13 cards throughout the day with Unifrog, and they would just like set their back row, bring in Unifrog through Substitute's effect, and just keep poking. And a lot of decks cannot deal with this. Unifrog was the absolute MVP of the tournament. Um, then I played the one of Brain Control. This card says win the match sometimes. You just pay 800, take their monster, go +1 billion with your monarchs. Crazy, crazy card. Um, Emergency Call. It's basically another copy of Stratos. It's very, very crazy. I played the one enemy controller. This card is also insane because you use it during your standby phase. get rid of your Treeborn Frog, steal their monster, then Treeborn Frog comes back again because it's not once per turn, and you just get so much advantage if you resolve an enemy controller. You can just end games on the spot.
It,
I played Future Fusion. Oh
I
yeah, what's up?
I did want to mention like about enemy controller, bro. Like I think I mentioned this earlier as like we are talking. The fact like Treeborn Frog in this format is not once per turn, absolutely busted, man. Like standby phase or whenever Treeborn Frog comes back, enemy controller take their shit and then standby phase or and then activate it, take and then still get it back. That's so busted. That's so freaking crazy. I don't know. I'm a
It's
huge.
insane.
I'm just such a big fan of it. You know, like back in the day, I played a little bit of Frog Monarchs, so enemy controller in that. And when I found out about it, I'm like, bro, that's absolutely broken. I'm such a big fan.
It's broken. The reason I don't play more enemy controllers is because once people know what deck you're on, they cite in a lot of hate, like the DD Crows, Soul Releases, etc. So enemy controller becomes less of a strong play, and it's often a card I side out. I'll talk about my sighting patterns when we get to it, but it's definitely a card that when it resolves, it's GG,
Mm-hmm.
but it can be hard to resolve against the better players.
Okay.
Um, I played one Future Fusion, which we already discussed is insane. It either gets the Dandelion play going, or it's just a threat of an absolute zero. So then they have to spend their one Mystical Space Typhoon or their Heavy Storm on getting rid of Future Fusion because the absolute zero jump scare is on the way. And it's just a really, really strong card. I think it's definitely worth playing. Not every Frog Hero deck plays it, but it's just nasty when it resolves. And if you're going first, there's no reason not to do it because if you resolve that Dandelion play, you are going to win. It's almost impossible to lose once you do the Dandy plus Substi play. That's why I played it because it's just a sacky card. Um, then I played the one of Heavy Storm, the best removal in the game. Super broken. You need to play removal because back row can get scary, especially bottomless trap holes and battle traps. So you do need a little bit of insurance against back row. I played the 3 Miracle Fusions. Every Miracle Fusion is a nuke in this deck, and if you resolve one, you're in a great spot because your absolute zero goes to like 4,000 attack, 3,500 because of how many waters you play. If you do block them behind an absolute zero, it's curtains. It's just a busted card. MST once again, great removal, insanely strong card. One for one is also a crazy card. You just bring Substitute out for free. And if you pitch a Dandelion, it's the same thing as the Future Fusion combo we talked about. Or you can just pitch like a Treeborn Frog that you don't mind pitching because you want it in the graveyard anyway. And you just go plus 1 billion with this card. It's crazy. Rhoda is also a great card too. It's the third Stratos copy, but it can also grab Junk Synchron in the clutch. Like if you need a certain Synchro at a certain moment and you draw into the Rhoda, it's never a bad draw because Junk Synchron is crazy. And then for my trap lineup, I think I played the best traps I could, which is Mirror Force. Mirror Force is a jump scare card that people have to respect. And once you show that you play it, people play scared. So it's a great card to side out as well. You can just bluff the Mirror Force and never use it in certain matchups. So I really, really like it. And then I played the 3 discard traps. They go really well with the Dandy, with the Treeborn. They can even send a hero to the graveyard. The 2 Raigeki breaks to destroy annoying monsters like Judgment Dragon, Christia, Vanity's Fiend, etc. And the Phoenix Wing Windblast, which combined with Ryza can just flip people back 2 turns, get rid of annoying floodgates too. Both of these cards like Mask of Restrict, Royal Oppression. So it's kind of like back row removal, but they also get rid of threats. I think they're really strong, and I've even considered like playing even more discard traps, crazy stuff like Karma Cut, for example. But I think these are the 2 best ones, and it's good to have like an assortment of them. And then we're talking with the Battle Faders how you need another sort of defense for those cards that prevent you from summoning Battle Fader, and that's what Threatening Roar is for. Sometimes you just set your Threatening Roar, and they think they can like go for a big push, and then they MST your back row thinking it's like Mirror Force or something. Then you flip Threatening Roar. They have to either commit more on their turn or just leave it there, and then you get a really good crackback with the Monarchs and the heroes, and it's just broken every time Threatening Roar resolves because it can win you games just by giving you that one turn that the deck needs. And then I decided to play 41 cards. I was gonna play 40, but I was like, Trap Dust Shoot is just nuts. Just looking at their hand, sending the monster that annoys you back, And then just knowing what they have in hand and playing around it is broken. There's a reason this card has been banned since like the Paleolithic age. It's just an insane card. I think it's one of the least fun cards to have resolved against you, but it's just very, very nutty. Um, then going into my side deck, I played one Breaker the Magical Warrior. Once again, this card is crazy. Sometimes people will set one Raikou and one back row and pass. And then you summon your Breaker, get rid of the back row, swing over the Raikou, and you went 2 for 1. It also gets rid of the annoying floodgates like Mask of Restrict, Royal Oppression, Zombie World, even. You can get rid of a lot of annoying cards with Breaker, so he came in really clutch. I played 2 Cyber Dragons. I was expecting a lot of Machina decks, but it's also really good in other matchups. For example, when my opponents were on Deck Devastation Virus, I would side out my Battle Faders and put in the Cyber Dragons just to have a card that could play through the Deck Devi easier. And also, it's a starter for the Duplock combo with Substitute, so it's just nuts. Vanity's Fiend is a card people have to spend like 4 or 5 resources to get rid of two. Sometimes they don't get rid of it at all and they just lose on the spot. There's a reason this card is still even played in advanced format. It'll come back to scare players with stun decks from time to time, and in Edison it's no different. It pretty much wins the mirror match automatically. So Vanity's Fiend is a crazy card. It came in clutch against a zombie player. I just resolved Vanity's Fiend and I was like, try to do something about it, and they just couldn't. They, then I played the Lightning Vortex. I think this card is crazy because it outs a lot of really problematic cards, and it's also a discard outlet for your crazy plays. Against plant decks, there's an Amaryllis deck going around that just puts up Titanial and keeps burning you with plants. And since this is non-target destruction, you just get rid of the Titanial and don't have to deal with that. You get rid of Christia boards. It's just a nuke, and it's super worth it. And then I played one Soul Exchange for the same reason. It's a spot removal basically, and there's so many tribute cards that you can play, like Caius, Substitutes, Ryza, Malicious Edge, and one spicy card that we're gonna talk about in the end of the extra deck. I played one Soul Release. There's a big debate whether you should play DD Crow because it's a reactive card, or Soul Release, which is a very proactive card. And I like Soul Release because it will mess up the matchups that I care about messing up the most, which is Christia Sorn, the mirror match, and Vayu Turbo. Like, okay, set up your grave all you want, and then you just banish 5 cards, and they don't get to play unless they have like Burial from different dimension, and that's a one of in most decks. So it's it's just a nutty card, and I like cards in the side deck that have a big impact. And I feel like DD Crow stops like random decks like Norlerust from like nuking you, but it's very situational. And I think I like cards that just win me the game on the spot. So that's why I went for Soul Release. And speaking of winning on the spot, we were talking about this before the deck profile, but Super Poly is just an insane card. You resolve Super Poly, take their board away. You can take out their the funny rock deck. You can use it against heroes. You can use it against frogs, and it ends up in absolute zero, which is just a board wipe. So it's crazy, crazy, crazy stuff in Super Poly. Then I played the 2-dimensional prisons. Um, there's a lot of very problematic cards for my type of deck, especially Fossil Dyna, Vanity's Fiend, and Christia. And just getting rid of them with through the dimensional prison and forcing them to commit an attack and getting rid of the threat so I can play is really, really good. So against decks that play those sort of like towers monsters, I like putting in the Deep Prison. Um, and then these next 2 cards are instant win cards when they resolve Needle Sealing and Torrential Tribute. They just nuke the board, and they're really easy to trigger, especially with Treeborn Frog coming back often. But they're also really, really clutch because there's some decks that like just go all in, like Dragon Turbo, Amaryllis. They're just really, really strong board wipes, and they really do come in handy when you need them. And even just board wiping a Judgment Dragon or a Christia or like one card that's gonna win your opponent the game is often good enough to play. So I usually side out my Mirror Force or something and put one of these in the matchups I need it. And then I played one of Mind Crush. Mind Crush is, I think, equally as stupid as Trap Dust Shoot. And especially in combination with Trap Dust Shoot, it's insane. But it has the added benefit that a lot of decks search and a lot of decks draw a lot. So, for example, I'd say Dragon Turbo is a bad matchup for this deck, but I would just wait till they drew like 33 cards, and then I would just go, Mind Crush, Red Eyes Darkness, Metal Dragon, and then they just don't play because they discarded all their 3 key cards to go through the combo. Or like they'll search Stratos with E Emergency Call or with Rhoda, and then you just call Stratos, get rid of the Stratos, and they went -2. So Mind Crush is just a crazy card, and if they don't account for every copy of the card, you can see their hand. So it's just nutty. And then the card that's probably gonna be the clickbait for the video. I played one of Obelisk, the Tormentor. This card has a heavy cost. You need 3 tributes, but its normal summon cannot be negated. So no Solemn Judgment, no Bottomless, no Torrential, nothing. And this card cannot be targeted, right? So there's very, very few cards that really out Obelisk the Tormentor in Edison format. They need to go for like a YOLO Black Rose Dragon, which also involves them going negative, or like swing into a Mirror Force, which you can usually play around. And the reason I put it in is because I hate Gladiator Beast. Gladiator Beast are the flu and the Reese of Edison format. They don't let you have fun. They just banish stuff. It's not fun to fight them, but they cannot do anything about Obelisk. They cannot Chariot its summon, and they cannot swing over it ever. So it's just a really, really strong card. It mostly came up in those matchups that didn't have a way of getting through it. But for example, decks that play Honest or decks that play like Kalut, like Black Wings, I wouldn't put Obelisk in. But in the decks that like Vayu Turbo or even Dragons or especially Gladiator Beast, it's just an instant win card, and it's hilarious to resolve. Like there would be like small crowds of people just like, oh my god, Obelisk! And that was just super fun. Yeah, and then for the extra deck, I played one Chimera Tech Fortress for that Cyber Dragon side deck. I never want to lose to Machinas. If you can just board wipe a Machina deck, there's no reason not to do it. I played the 3 of Absolute Zeros. If I could play 15 Absolute Zeros, I would. This card is broken. This card says win the game in Edison format. It's really, really hard to not go negative against this card. There's been like 3 cards in Edison that go like 1-for-1, like Neospatian Grand Mole, DD Warrior Lady, and even then you have to like not commit the board. Then I played the Gaia. I never summoned Gaia like willingly. It was always a future fusion target. But it's just a strong play, and there's no reason not to do it. So I put in the one Gaia. Then I played one Ally of Justice Catastor. This card gets rid of problematic cards. It
Oh my
stalls
god.
the game a lot, and it's just really, really strong. And it's easy to do. It's just one Junk Synchron and one Frog. Easy Catastor. It didn't really come up much because I have a lot of strong level 5 options that I'll talk about in a bit, but just having the option is nice. I played one Armory Arm for the OTK if it ever came by with something I stole from an enemy controller or a brain control. I didn't summon it once, but once again, you only really need Absolute Zero in the extra deck, so just having options for anything else is great. One Black Rose Dragon. I'm not gonna let my opponent summon Obelisk on me now that they know the tech, so I do need the out for it. And it's just a board wipe. It's a crazy card. It's been like banned and limited in like a lot of formats, so it's crazy. Played Brionek. Brionek is super broken in Edison format. You can return your own cards to the hand. You can return your opponent's cards. You can priority and board wipe. It's a water, so it buffs up your Absolute Zero. It's just a crazy card. Very, very strong. I summoned this plenty of times throughout the event. Colossal Fighter is there for the OTK, or sometimes you just need a big boy because you do play a lot of warriors in this deck. So Colossal Fighter, a strong option to have. It didn't really come up much. I played the Flambell Urukisas. This card is crazy in the same way that Malicious Edge is crazy because sometimes decks are counting on not getting pierced, and then you just pierce them, and they're like, "Uh-oh," and suddenly they're on a timer, and they have to answer the card. So, just having the option was really great as a level 6. Goyo Guardian, busted card. You literally steal their monsters. It's very big monster. Just nuts card. Goyo came up once or twice throughout the tournament, and then the synchro that I probably went into the most after Brionac was Junk Warrior. And the reason this card is crazy as a level 5 in Frog specifically is because it adds attack equal to the total attack of level 2 monsters you control. And considering how easy it is to have like 1 or 2 swap frogs on the field, this card can go up to like 4,400 with like a Treeborn and 2 Swap Frogs, and just swing for game and steal games out of nowhere. So it's definitely a must-play card, and it was really strong. I played the one of Magical Android for timer scamming if I ever needed it. I never timer scammed. I never went to time. I just tried to be as quick as possible. Like, I'm doing this and this does this because of this. Just very clear to avoid like time stalling and promote like the same type of dueling with my opponent. And then the one Stardust Dragon, because it plays around a lot of destruction cards, and it's just a generally good synchro to have. So yeah, that's the deck profile. I hope you guys liked it, and I definitely had a lot of fun building and playing the deck.
But yeah, bro, thank you. I really appreciate you coming on. Are there any shout outs? If people want to check out any of your content, where can they find you? Anything like that, man?
Well, shout outs. I want to shout out my friends that actually helped me build the deck. It was like a very power of friendship deck because they know that I love this deck and I've been like trying to rarity bump it little by little. So it's like of nice rarities and stuff. Like not ultis or anything crazy, but I do want to shout out my friends that added to it. I want to shout out my friend Brian. He gave me a ultimate Treeborn Frog. Is the first ulti I've ever owned, so it really came in clutch with the power of friendship. My friend Anabolic, also a Marvel player, gave me an enemy controller, a secret one. Looked really nice. And then obviously my friends that I practice with all the time, Axel, Sergio, Giovanni, Ivan, and Gilberto, and also Diego. They're the reason I'm a strong duelist. So I just want to thank them. And as for like personal shilling, you guys can hit me up on Twitter. It's at Esteban Wolf 23. Or you guys can check out my Twitch too. Sometimes I stream fighting games. I might even stream Yu-Gi-Oh now. I don't know. It's twitch.tv/TA_wolf.
And of course, guys, that's going to be all in the description box. So make sure you guys check that out. But yeah, bro, I thank you again. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to see more content like this, I would really appreciate it if you guys leave it in the comment section. Let me know. That's going to be it for me. It for us. See you guys on the next one. Peace out, guys.